Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, Sigval here, welcome back to another video. So yesterday, after the update fiasco, we actually ended up not getting Shazam and we got to wait a bit more for that. Now, I'm going to do some gameplay predictions since we didn't get to play with Shazam, which is, even better than actually getting the character, am I right, boys? And yeah, the only thing we have available is exactly what you see on the screen in terms of official gameplay being released. There have been no leaks, no data mines, no anything like that, because he's not even in the data of the game. So I'm going to base all my assumptions on this, and maybe I'll make a prediction afterwards. First thing I want to address the question, is this a rework? Most likely not. Most likely not, because if you remember the first time Shazam got leaked, and this counteracts also the theory that he's a gold character, is on a random toy website that had a partnership with DC to make Shazam toys for the new movie, and they also mentioned that a new legendary Shazam character is going to be added into the game. And yeah, that's that. Now, the fact that he exactly looks almost exactly, maybe the shoes are a bit different, but for the most part, he almost exactly looks like the base Shazam model. Yeah, the lightning seems to be a bit smaller, but I again don't think this is a rework. Would be great if this is a rework, because a lot of people do have Shazam, and a lot of people are going to get him from the arena seasons, but at the same time, it wouldn't be the best thing, because the current Shazam, while he's not the most useful guy in raids and soul raids, his purpose is for Arena and Champions Arena, and he's one of the best characters out there with a team-wide heal. So I wouldn't necessarily like this being a rework, because as far as rework goes, he's at the bottom of the list of characters actually needing a rework. But nevertheless, my assumption is that this is going to be either a legendary character or an Injustice Mobile Pass character, but most likely not a rework. So yeah, let's move on to some other stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is the small lightning thing that appears above his head. As you can see in this clip over here, it is not before the special is done, but appears as the special is done. And as we can see in later clips in that video, that thing on his head is already active. Now, that thing could be a couple of things. First of all, for example, we have the Kenflan Sacrament passive. We're going to stack the passive by using specials, and when you're at full stacks, that indicates by his hands glowing. So the first thing that thing could be above his head is something that indicates that he has reached max stacks of something. Now, that something could be damage, special damage, or a number of things. Could be something like the Zatanna buffs that she gets herself, maybe each time he uses the special, because if you watch the Shazam movie, I'm not the best DC expert, but there's multiple Shazams, multiple Shazam people, so to speak, and you can see them helping him around the special. It's the main body of Shazam, okay? But there's multiple versions of Shazam. One of them is even female, or two of them, I can't really recall. But the thing is, maybe whenever you use a special, you're going to get one of the random characters popping in and giving you a permanent buff. And whenever you're, let's say, at all the permanent buffs, whenever you have gotten all of them from each of the different Shazams, that thing is going to appear above your heads. And this is kind of the first thing it could be, kind of indicating that he has reached peak potential in terms of buffs. Now, another thing this could be is a limited buff. Maybe something that you need to constantly stack. Like, for example, the Manta passive. Manta is going to hit the enemy, and whenever he does that, he's going to get a counter that's on a cooldown. As long as you keep hitting the enemy, you're going to increase that counter until it's capped, and you need to keep it hitting the enemy so it doesn't disappear. It might be a similar thing here, and I would really like that, because we saw this with basic hits, but we've never seen this with specials, where you get a temporary buff that gets refreshed and upgraded on each use of that specific thing. So maybe he gets, let's say, more special damage, and whenever that happens, that thing appears above his head, that glowing thing, and it's on a cooldown. So you need to keep doing specials within a reasonable amount of time to actually keep that active. And this could be one of the things that also actually happens here. And again, afterwards, we see it above his head, so maybe the buff is already active at that point, maybe the buff is maxed out, It could be a number of things, and I'm not sure where this man will fit, because it would be a bit of a stretch to put him in the flawed justice team, because look, lore wise, again, I'm not the most knowledgeable DC dude. Maybe he has something to do with the flawed justice, because I know he's got some beef with Black Adam, but it seems like a bit of a stretch to put him in that team, though it's not out of the realm of the possibility. So big question about that thing that appears above his head, which most likely indicates a buff, is if that buff is going to be applicable to the other teammates that he's going to share a team with. And he's most likely gonna be in a team, even not in a team of his own, because a lot of the new release characters that we got, with some exceptions, like Hush was designed like 4 years ago and released recently, relatively recently, but most characters that we got recently are in a team. Zatanna's in a team, Black Adam's in a team, and Batman the Drowned's in a team. They are going with the team vibe. So he's either a member of the Just League Dark team, a Flawed Justice team, excuse me, or I don't know. Just League Dark wouldn't always also be out of the realm of possibility, I guess, because he kind of fits the main team with being magical, but he doesn't appear in either of the movies, so I don't know. So regardless of what that is, I hope it's team-wise, not specific to him. I know you're kind of tired at this point of seeing the same Flash clip, but there's one more thing I want to point out about this clip specifically. Other than the fact that he doesn't have the thing above his head at the start of it and just after the special, you can see that when he does his basic hits against Flash, he has the first two of them having a lightning effect to them, and the next two of them not having that lightning effect to them. So maybe, though the thing was not above his head while he had the lightning effect on the specials, so maybe it's another passive that buffs his basic hit damage, and that just expires, so they're just normal, no more thunder on them. Or maybe it's just a fluctuating animation, it doesn't mean anything, but I thought this was worth a mention. Now, about the special he does against Aquaman over here, what we can see is that it's first of all a grapple, which we got a couple of abilities in Injustice Mobile that kind of work like that, where you grab the enemy and do something with him. And the thing is, some of those, if not most of them, are going to be able to maybe bypass reflective shields, maybe not. So that's a thing. And both of these specials that we're able to see are able to throw the enemy on the ground. And that's always good. You always want to be throwing the enemy down on the ground, not just staggering them. Before I go, one last thing I wanted to point out is that some of you mentioned in the comments that in a different game, I think it's DC Legends or something like that, it's the one that's like turn-based. In that game specifically, we get the girl Shazam character, the one with skirt that we can only also see in the effects of an animation here. So rather than him being in one of the already in the game themes, there's a possibility that we might get new versions of Shazam characters from the movie, and we might get the Shazam family team or something like that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Like though if you liked it, dislike if you liked it. If you want to stay updated on Shazam and other stuff related to Injustice Mobile, please do subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye!